Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by Callum, James, and Alan in the studio. How you going, guys?
Good.
So we got some updates about the program this week.
Yeah, so...
We're quitting.
Yeah,
Take that.
we quit.
All right, end of the program. See you later. Thanks for listening.
And so we've been, if you count the old show, which I started in 2016, like we've been doing this for almost 7 years. So it's, and anyone who's listened to this show for like a long time listener knows, like I'm never happy. Never been happy with the show. And one of the problems we've faced over the years, and that we've talked about before, is all our off-mic conversations are all the funniest jokes, the best discussions, pop culture discussions we have. As soon as the mic comes on, it's just death.
I wouldn't go that far.
But I guess you're in the effort of trying to make more of a professional program.
Yeah,
You end up leaving out good content that will actually be entertaining.
exactly. Like I think the having no pressure of no mic. Obviously, between friends, you can say whatever you want. You can have
Also, we can get away with a lot more.
Yeah, you have
off air than we can on air.
You have a shorthand like that because we know each other so well. We have in jokes that you can't really say on air without context. We don't have to provide context to our reviews because Callum or Nathan will just say, "Have you seen this?" And I'll go say yes, and then we'll go blah 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 blah. But for an audience, it's much different. But yeah, so for years we've been trying to recapture that outside, more free-flowing, casual conversation and sort of put it on record. We've been trying to make the podcast as free-flowing as possible.
As natural as possible.
Yeah. And we've never really been able to do that. And again, because we're trying to create a product that people can consume and know what we're talking about. And we provide context for what we're talking about, and like I'm doing now. But yeah, over the last couple of years, obviously it's been very hard for everyone. And, me personally, I've been having a lot of, mental health, discussions with myself, and just like thinking about like just the nature of podcasting and the nature of like reviewing movies and how criticism and
I mean, for us, it's always just been first and foremost there's a time where we can come together in the studio and just chat and hang
and that's
out.
basically it. That's the reason I never quit, because I'm like, well, I get to see my friends and we get to have dinner after the show, and like that's why we keep it up.
Yeah.
The actual show itself, I don't care if we do it or not, kind of thing. It also gets me out of the house, which, is a good thing, I
Yeah.
guess.
Otherwise, 10 years goes by and suddenly
Yeah.
you're agoraphobic.
It's interesting, isn't it? The older you get, the less reason there is to leave the house without chores being involved.
Oh, like, COVID was like the best, like lockdowns were like some of the best time of my life, because like everyone was on the same page. It's like, you can't go anywhere, can't do anything.
And I got to pick more fights at work.
Well, yeah. But I just mean, like, being at home is just like, oh, there's no pressure. And then as soon as you kind of have to go out and do things, then it's all like, you have to, yeah. So, like, yeah, and I talked about on one of our lockdown episodes where I was just like...
When we were trying to do it over Zoom.
Yeah, we were trying to do it over Zoom, and that didn't
work
work out. And I was talking about how, the most fun I have is just watching movies and shows and playing games and reading books that I want to, and not talking about them on the show, because I'm just doing it for myself because I enjoy it, and it's something that I love. And every time we have to watch a show to review it, or, watch a movie to review it, it just adds a layer. It feels like work.
Yeah.
And so that's something we've been discussing off air, is just like, from now on, yeah, we'll still do reviews and stuff, but every episode is just going to be like, whatever.
I think it was like we said one time. We're going to review what we want to review.
Yeah.
Like it's not like
But also, like,
certain movies are coming out and like
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like the Prey. Have you heard of Prey?
yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah, I've read some reviews that it sounds pretty good, but I'm not too interested in it.
Like, I might watch it eventually,
Yeah, it's
and we
not
might,
something-
I might bring it up, but
We're not going to block out
Yeah.
a whole hour for it.
exactly, and even for stuff we really, really want to watch and really want to talk about on the show, even that, it's like we're not going to prioritize that.
Yeah.
It's just if it comes up on air, it
Yeah.
comes up, fine.
And then it lasts as long as it lasts, and we move on.
Yeah, and that's the thing is from now on, every episode is going to be more relaxed and just more conversational. And if we get to the big movie that we're talking about, we get to it. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah.
One of the problems we have is because, we're in a studio when we have a time slot. We have to be considerate of other people in the studio, and we also have to be careful we don't go too long. And that's always been a huge problem of us, like, just there's always one eye on the clock going, like, we have to get the review done, get all our points across. And it leads to a kind of strained show, and I don't know. And so, like, we're just, from now on, it's just like, if we get to everything, we get to everything. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of...
It's more about just reassessing the stakes.
Yeah, because it doesn't really matter. And like I said, I don't really care that much, but it's something that...
I think our best content as, listeners, we like when we've re-listened back to the show, or we know how well we do it at the end of the night, usually. And I think our best shows, we're at our best when it's more conversational, it's more natural.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to recapture that.
Recapture that and, like, just get rid of all the pressure, because I'm
Yeah.
I'm someone who...
James gets the anxiety.
Yeah, and I worry about everything. I'm like, can listeners hear this part? Is this too loud? Is this too soft? Are we making sense here? This, that, and the other, and it ends up, one, driving me crazy, and two, the show probably is worse for me trying, like, overthinking things. So yeah, we're just trying to capture something more casual and, like, no real notes. Usually I go through dot points. Now it's just going to be, like, based on our discussions, our feelings towards something.
Based on this premise as well, we're also going to try and involve Alan a little bit more, and we're having his old Saturday time slot working for us for a little while.
Yeah. Well, now that Alan's back from Canberra for a while, and he's been coming on the show more and more often, and he hasn't been doing his video game show on Saturdays, we thought, well, we might as well take advantage of that time slot as well. And basically,
Just to come and hang out. And
hang out,
record it.
and those episodes, which, we might do them every week, we might do them every 2 weeks, we might do them once a month. Callum works every second Saturday, so he'll be in and out of those episodes, and those episodes will be, like, less, maybe more video game based, depending on if
What's going on?
going on, or they'll just be more like generally conversational, like
Even more than the Tuesday review,
like what politics or other topics that we don't cover in our normal episodes.
We've got one of those in the bank. I haven't released it yet.
Yeah.
I'll probably release both of them next Saturday.
Yep.
Because I've been A, sick, thank you, Alan, and B,
Mild illness.
it's not the worst illness, and it's not COVID, but and been very busy, so I haven't had a
Yeah,
chance.
no, that's all right.
So you will probably get 3 episodes this week. Whoa,
Whoa.
whoa.
But yeah, that's the thing is like it's not a set thing. So you don't want to say we're dropping 3 episodes later this week.
Yeah, no, but that's not necessarily consistent.
Yeah, and it won't be consistent, and
When they happen, they happen.
They happen.
When they happen, they happen. Just keep an eye on the Facebook.
Yeah, and obviously, like, on the weekends that Callum's not there, we won't be able to talk about certain things because then we have to catch him up, and so it's going to be a lot looser, a lot more fluid. We might just start a discussion and in one episode and finish it in another, with no real connection or so. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say except
keep an eye on the podcast.
Keep an eye on the podcast. We're just going to try and be a bit looser.
If
Just
you listen to the
looser.
podcast, let us know how you feel about it.
Yeah, and like we always sort of we've tried to shaken things up over the last couple of years, and we always end up, I think, in the similar format. So it'll probably just fall back into a similar thing.
You never know. We'll
that
see
we
where the
used to.
journey takes us.
But yeah, exactly. We're just gonna try
Yeah.
and
Well, to start
figure
us off,
things out.
Callum was basically saying that he's an addict and he now has to
Nah.
go. He now has to go cold turkey from the wrestling.
Yeah, so I haven't actually been watching much content so I have a ritual where I'll get home from work because I've been doing late shifts, and then I will put on old episodes of professional wrestling shows, and then I'll just read my novel, whatever that novel might be, and it's been very successful for me. I've read quite a couple novels that way. The most recent being Nausea by I'm sorry, the ghost of Sartre. I'm going to butcher your name, but Sartre. Jean
yeah, I think that's right. Jean-Paul
Sartre, yeah, which is an existentialist slice of life novel which espouses his personal philosophical movement called existentialism, which is the idea that there's no inherent meaning in life, and it's how do you deal with that idea. And it's based around the premise of a diary entry written in the first person by a gentleman who's writing a history book about a legendary French aristocrat, but his life starts to fall apart. And it's very complicated, but I do recommend it. It's very interesting. While some people might consider it dry because it is slice of life. I went to the cafe, I talked to this person, blah blah. It's kind of funny. It's some elements of the prose jump off the page. There's innuendos involved, and it's outright hilarious.
You know what? I'm going to say two things. One, thank you for sharing, Callum.
Thank you, James.
So don't take what I'm going to say. Don't take what I'm about to say the wrong way. On the show, frequently, because we're so worried about time, and we're known for our tangents.
Yeah.
But we always like freaking out, like have to get on track, have to get back on track, have to get back to the review or whatever. And Callum is sometimes known for his famous tangents of like we'll be talking about one thing and he'll just come out of nowhere with something that's not completely unrelated.
I'm getting back to it.
No, but that's what I'm saying is from now on we're going to embrace those tangents.
Oh God!
And literally,
We have to rename the show Callum's Tangents.
Well,
It's Callum Hour.
Actually, have we talked about this before?
Next week we just cut his mic off.
Have we talked about this before? The show originally, one of the working titles is the Tuesday Tangent.
Yeah.
So like this rambly kind of nonsense conversational off the cuff.
It's getting
We're
there.
going to embrace that. So if we're reviewing a movie and someone says, "Hey, what about this thing that's completely unrelated?" Instead of going, "Oh, we'll talk about that later. Oh, yeah, we'll get back on track." We're just going to waffle on and see where we go. And if we never get back to the review, sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because
This week, the boys try
to review and end up talking about something else.
You don't choose the podcast life. The podcast life chooses you.
Yeah.
So when the podcast goes where it goes, we don't control it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like that's the thing is like I tried so hard to control this thing,
beast.
whatever it is, yeah. And it's just like it's not fun and it never works out and it never lives up to my unnecessary high expectations. So I'm just like, you know what? Who cares?
That's right.
But that brings me to the second thing, which is while Callum was talking, Alan was making a joke about how
It's about the book. It's about the book, actually.
Exactly, about how the book is a bit of a wank.
No. Quite the
It
opposite.
literally happens in the book.
Yeah. There's a scene in the
Oh,
book.
okay, I didn't know about that.
So Alan came over to my house. We've been working on my car, which
Yeah.
Alan will. For radio listeners, you'll hear a little bit about that in the next radio program. We've been doing some things to my car. But Alan came over early one time when I was on the cusp of finishing my book, and I read him a quite salacious scene from the end of the novel. Because it was a bit provocative. I was like, hey, I'll listen to this. So that's what he was referencing.
But that's what I wanted to bring up is he was doing it like under the table, like wink, wink, or to us as a joke. And obviously listeners don't know that. And usually I would ignore it and go, kind of, finish your point, Callum, and we'll move on.
No. That's why I said yes, and there's innuendo in it, yeah.
Yeah. But like from now on, no under the table jokes.
All right.
Obviously, we're live on the radio, so we do
We've
have
gotta
to.
keep it
There is
somewhat
Keep PG.
there is certain there is
Um,
there is a certain level of
professionalism.
but otherwise we
Yeah.
because a lot of the times like the other day when we were reviewing Stranger Things, and you were showing everyone the meme of the Will's head,
Yeah.
and everyone
Best
was
meme of the year.
everyone
Try
was
not to laugh.
laughing, but like
Yeah.
I was trying to
Yeah.
make my point, and I'm like, if I start laughing
It's gonna direct.
and
Yeah, that
tell
was
tell
yeah.
the listeners what's happening behind
Should have
the
waited for a
scenes.
break for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but from now on, it's just like, nah, anything's game. Do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. We'll stop the whole review and talk about memes. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. And we're still
Yeah.
going to talk about pop culture stuff.
Well, it's interesting if things don't matter because they didn't matter to Sat either.
Segue.
Yeah. But yeah, Prose jumps off the page. Very philosophical, heady novel.
Yeah.
Beautiful descriptions. I recommend it. If
Have you read No Exit?
No.
Because that's on my list of things. Many things.
Who's
to
that
read.
by?
Sat.
Oh no, yeah, no, I haven't.
Yeah,
I've only
that's
got
his
the one.
most famous book, I believe.
Callum doesn't want the famous books.
Yeah,
Callum-
he just wants to read.
He does the weird books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, actually, Callum does that. He'll come up to me. He's like, "Oh, have you read this book?" I'm like, "No one's read that book."
But his specialty is alien-based ufology literature.
Yeah,
not really. I've only got a few. But
but
anyway,
1,000.
Yeah.
no, my point. I've only got like
The rest
five
of them are on.
on pre-order. Yeah.
It's on a wish list.
They're not all aliens.
My point is that
Some of it's astral projection.
Some of them's other dimensional beings.
Yeah, that's it.
that's it. They're called ultra-terrestrials now, Alan. Get on the
Oh,
same
yeah.
page. Yeah.
It's UAPs, thank you very much, not
Yeah.
UFOs anymore.
My point is that I would use this time to read my book, whatever that book might be, and have the wrestling on. And I decided that there's so much content passing me by, like actively passing me by.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen half the shows people talk about. I'm like,
Yeah, but
is Stone
that's-
Cold Steve Austin in that one? You know, so it's like, I need to
But
give it a
that's-
pause, and then
It's something we've talked
Well,
about on the show.
I was talking to Nathan. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all right.
I wasn't even enjoying it. It was just on. I was watching it, and I didn't feel anything.
Well, you
Uh,
were using it as a background show.
Yeah, I know, but I'm like, if I'm not, you know, if I put The Simpsons on as a background show, for example, I'm going to enjoy it, even though it's even though it's background material. Whereas like the wrestling, I was kind of, yeah, some matches are good, but most of them just kind of whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? Pause it. I've got Netflix to watch. I got stuff to catch up on. I got
But that's-
movies, TV shows to catch up on.
Oh, I'm telling him
So-
all the time. You need to watch
yeah.
this, watch this, watch
Yeah.
this. He's like,
Yeah.
but my
But
wrestling.
That's only one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is all I do is read, right? So I need to not read every day of the week. So I'm going to swap that out for Netflix and, you know, movies, Prime.
I was saying, read
But he-
before bed. That's probably one
I
of the
know,
better
I-
ways to get to sleep.
Yeah.
And then during the day, if you've got time, watch something on TV instead.
I don't really have much time during the day. Not on a normal weekday, at least.
But
Because I usually work afternoons.
here's the thing: is like I've been suffering from this for years, but especially the last few months, or 6 months or whatever. It's just there's so much content, and it's
look-
too much, and I'm kind of sick of watching things because I know other people are going to be watching them, and not because I feel like watching them.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
And so you have to you yes, you can if you're not in, if you want to catch up, sure, but you have to also make sure you're enjoying what you're
Yeah.
doing, because if you're not and you're just
What's the point? Yeah.
smashing through, binging all these shows so you can catch up, then what's the point? It's like
I'm lucky. There's a lot of content that I haven't watched that I want to watch.
yeah.
But we've talked about this before. I think it's an interesting phenomenon when it comes to professional movie critics. They'll go out and watch a movie that wasn't really made for them or they don't like, and they'll go, it sucks.
They're also like
And I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't. It's like we were saying before. We
Yeah.
decided to stop reviewing movies that we know we're not going to like.
yeah, exactly.
Or not like, but we know we're not going to engage with.
Yeah.
It's like there was some dude who reviewed a romance movie, and he's like, I hate romance movies. It sucked. I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Maybe you should review stuff that's more in your
Critic-
wheelhouse.
yeah, like those, like professional critics get paid to just watch everything, and then even
Yeah.
if they don't like something, and that's what we were trying to do early on in the show, is just watch everything and give listeners an idea of like, will you like this, will you not? But then it's like, there are so many YouTube reviewers
Yeah,
and
yeah.
movie podcasts and whatever, that it's like if you really want to know if you should watch something,
Yeah.
you can look it up anywhere. And so what our thing ended up being was like analysis and like
Yeah.
more long form.
Deconstructions.
Yeah, but then like even that, it's just like what we're talking about now is just like I might watch something and you guys might not, or you guys
Yeah.
might watch something and might not, and it's just like it becomes harder and harder to
But
actually
here's what-
talk about.
I'll say to Nathan, the problem was I wasn't watching anything.
Yeah,
So-
I'm sitting there trying to blend in.
I'm like, Homer when he backs into the shrubs.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, it's like that's why I want the show to be more conversational and loose and whatever,
Yeah.
because it takes the pressure off of like, oh, Callum, have you finished this season? We need to talk
Yeah.
about it on the show, because
Yeah,
that
yeah,
used to happen a lot.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
and every time we put off a review 1 week, 10 million other shows and movies come out.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, but now it's just like, it doesn't matter. We'll talk
Yeah.
about it when we talk about it. If we don't, we don't.
But I said to Nathan, I was happier watching Netflix content than I was watching the wrestling. Which is one of
Yeah.
those things where you find yourself you getting into like a kind of a rut with a show or something.
Mm.
And then when you start watching something else, you just get that fresh feeling
Yeah.
that sometimes you need for a while. You need to just like, and then you can come back to what you were stuck on before.
Yeah.
Which I've had happen with books.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books is a book called Little Big. It's big and it's heavy.
Mm.
And I got halfway through and I was just like, I couldn't do it. So I read another
Take
book
a break,
and then after
yeah.
I came back to it and it was with fresh eyes.
It's like, because I've been listening to the Witcher audio books and I'm up to like the second last book or whatever it is. And there was a point where, even though I was enjoying it,
yeah.
it's like there's a point where it's just like, I can't be, even though I wasn't
Yeah,
actively
no,
reading
yeah.
it, I was just listening. I
You
was
need
just
a
like,
palate cleanser.
yeah, it's just like, I can't listen to this anymore. And I didn't listen to it for about a month.
Yeah.
And when I thought to myself, oh, I have to start that again, I felt like, I really
yeah.
don't want to. But when I did, I was like, yes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I
Yeah.
like smashed out
Yeah.
a whole big part of it. So
Alan's also big on the audiobooks. Now, a question for you boys. I've never really been into audiobooks. Do they do the sound effects too?
no,
Like, if
Depends on
Gerald's
the
going
audio.
down
No.
if
Depends.
some-
Gerald's going down the road, do they do like the horse clip-clop
Clippity
sound?
clop.
no, some of them are like audio dramas where they have that, but most of them is just what's written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in
Yeah.
case of The Witcher, it's just the one
See,
reader
it
and
will
he
narrate the books.
narrates
Yeah.
the book. But he does good voices. The
Yeah.
guy. I'm
What you're
listening
thinking
to.
of is radio plays.
Yes.
So like one of the most
Yeah.
famous ones is like you got the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings radio
Yeah.
plays, and that's where they actually make all
Yeah.
the sound effects.
But they
and
have
it's all
they have them
produced.
on Audible now, like audio dramas. Like
Yeah, and
so-
they also did that with the Sandman.
yeah, they did.
Is
Like,
War of the
Sandman.
Worlds also a radio play?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's
Like
game.
the
famous one.
Like you all listen to The Expanse, right?
Yeah,
And they have the
it's-
Wilhelm scream when someone falls out of a spaceship or something. What?
Yeah.
No, it's,
So yeah, so I'm excited to get back into the world of movies and TV. But we aren't going. Like I'm always going to the cinema to see what's on the cinema.
Mm.
But I'm excited to get back into streaming.
Yeah, there's so much stuff.
I mean, kind
Too
of,
much.
I guess, kind of segueing. We'll talk about it, I guess, a little bit. Kind of segueing from this. Obviously, there's a new show that's come out.
oh, we're gonna
That's-
talk about it.
We'll talk about it because I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
The Rehearsal starring Nathan
Alright.
Fielder.
We should probably do some background context first because he's
Yeah.
not that famous yet in
Yeah.
Australia.
Well,
He's he's a pretty underrated comedian, I would say.
yeah. If there are any long-time listeners, we talked about the finale.
Francis.
Yeah, the finale to his show Nathan For You, which was years ago.
Doesn't feel like it. Weird.
Yeah. But like we watched that just on a whim, like not even thinking,
We're
not
waiting
even
for-
knowing
we're
it was
waiting
the
for
finale.
other people to rock out. We're waiting for Alan to come or something.
Yeah.
and-
Alan and Jake were
And we're
coming.
just like,
Oh,
I'll just chuck on.
Funny is Alan and Jake were coming to specific. I think one of the reasons was specifically to help me with the World of Warcraft puzzle. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
to get me a rare mount for the game.
So,
Yeah,
They were going to come to hang out. Too,
yeah, we're gonna hang out and have dinner.
But,
or whatever, so
Jake,
we're
but
waiting.
Jake was interested in doing his puzzle for me.
And,
And we're-
and Funny Francis was like,
Yeah, no, we were
Yeah.
like, oh, just chuck something random on
Yeah.
streaming, whatever's on. It's like, oh, I flick through. Oh, Nathan For You, that's funny. So we click random episode, thinking it's like a 20,
Yeah.
the
20-minute
normal
bite-sized,
22-minute episode.
just like the latest episode.
Yeah. And Nathan For You, how would you describe it?
It's a comedian. It's it's
he goes
it's a
around and he
comedy-
tries to help
yeah,
people's businesses.
Yeah, he's like a business major who tries to help
consultant
out.
guy
Yeah.
who sees a struggling business that's not doing very well against usually a bigger box.
Yeah,
or something of that
It's
nature.
like a reality TV prank show, but instead of pranks, it's just really awful, funny business
He
advice.
tries to help struggling businesses.
But
in a
he's
very,
not-
but-
very unorthodox way.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a really out of the box sort of way. Like there's a good example is one episode. There's an electronics store who has to.
Yeah. He wants to sell TVs.
Yeah, the guy's trying to sell these TVs, but obviously he's trying to compete with
Against Best Buy or Walmart or something like
big
that.
chain
in trying to beat
stores.
Best, was it in trying to beat one of the best lines of the show?
Oh, yeah.
ever? In trying
And
to
it
beat
beat
Best
Best
Buy,
Buy's-
I became worst guy.
Yeah.
But so he's trying to help. So he's like, we have to get people in the store to buy these TVs. So we're gonna make them $1. Is that right?
Yeah.
And he's like, but to make it hard for people to actually buy the TVs, he put them at like the end of like this corridor that has like alligators and there's like a really small door that you
there was an
can't
alligator
even
in front of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can't even crawl through the door to get the TV through it. And it's just like all these silly things that he does, but he's so deadpan.
Yeah,
It's
it's
uncomfortable,
completely
yeah.
it's completely dry, completely
Nathan-
straight.
Nathan Fielder is just like so serious and deadpan, and he's interviewing people about their business and saying, weird things,
Yeah.
and it's kind of uncomfortable and really hilarious.
Yeah. And
So-
Finding Francis was like the last
Yeah.
episode, unbeknownst to us, and probably the best 45 minutes of TV
Yeah,
I'd
it ended up
I'd
being a
seen up till now.
long episode, and we were like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, and yeah, I mean,
And it was
Like
the
every now
greatest-
and again, I still sing to myself sometimes, I'm a ding dong daddy from
Yeah.
Lewis.
It's like the
Yeah.
greatest television moment that we came across by accident,
And
basically.
For you listeners, just to hear how insane this was watching it on TV, he hired a prostitute just to sit down with him on a bed
Well-
and say, I love you. And then he would say, again.
the
And it's
fi-
like
yeah.
very uncomfortable.
Like the whole thing with Finding Francis, is like
Yeah.
he's helping this
Allegedly,
old
yeah.
man,
reconnect with a lost love.
reconnect with
Yeah.
a lost love who hasn't seen
a
in
Bill Gates
60
impersonator.
years. Yeah. And obviously he makes this old man do all these awkward, weird
Yeah.
things just to find this woman. And in the process, Nathan obviously feels alone
Yeah.
and wants to connect with people himself, which leads to
Yeah,
the
and he
sex worker
hires
scene.
hired this lady, and
Yeah.
just for him to
Yeah.
just for her to awkwardly
Which-
say "I love you" to him like 15 times on camera, and he's just like again. I'm like, oh my god, when's it gonna stop?
Which I guess ties into his new show, The Rehearsal,
Yeah.
which after Nathan For You finished, he kind of went away.
Yeah,
for
he
a few
disappeared.
years.
Yeah,
He did a lot of
biding his
camera
time,
writing
saving
work.
his
Yeah,
powers.
he was like a segment producer on Who Is America, the Sacha Baron Cohen,
Which makes a lot of sense.
which
once
has
you
a lot of
realise it.
similarities
Yeah.
to his, his.
I'm not
show
surprised
and
they get
style.
along.
Yeah. But then he came back with The Rehearsal, and
Just-
my God, we were not
just-
prepared.
Look, we'll talk about it in 1 second. We'll go to a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. You're back on the Tuesday review. We're going to start talking about Nathan Fielder's new HBO show, The Rehearsal. Just to catch listeners up, what the show is about. He basically... Well, the show was intended... We'll say what the show was intended to be first, not what the spiral
Yeah.
it's chaos to become. So, initially, the show is designed as a program where Nathan Fielder puts out like a classified advert saying...
like Craigslist.
If
thing.
you have, like a Craigslist sort of Facebook advert thing, where the first one was like, if you're hiding something from other people, like contact us,
Yeah.
we'll like for a TV opportunity or whatever. And then a gentleman, what was his name? Oh,
Core.
Core, yeah.
Yeah.
He obviously contacted and
From
got
New
through.
York.
Core from New York. He won through. Here's the I guess the process. And he lied about his higher education.
Yeah.
And
to
Nathan
his
Fielder,
friends.
and he wants to come clean.
Yeah.
And Nathan Fielder's like, all right, well, we can sort of work this through with you.
Yeah.
We'll go through and we can
extremely
rehearse it.
it's in an extremely convoluted way. Instead of saying like we're going to help you to confess to your friends,
instead of
that
getting a
you're
coach
lying
in,
to them.
like a coach in,
yeah. Instead of that, he's like, we're going to like
rehearse the entire thing.
Yeah, secretly like train you basically over and over again, rehearse how you're going to come out
Yeah.
to your friend and
And
tell them you're lying.
But that sounds kind of normal.
Yeah, the way we describe
the way
it.
we
the
describe
steps
it.
he takes
Yeah.
to do it, which he realized that he wants to confess to his friend at a particular bar that he goes to.
Yeah.
So they go and recreate the whole damn bar inside
Yeah.
of a factory, a whole
Yeah.
bar.
Not just like, but it's like the whole building, not just like the
Yeah.
bottom
Yeah.
floor.
It's one to one.
It's
That's
like
right. It's
one
a
to
it's a
one.
one to one
One-to-one
reproduction.
recreation so that they can practice.
It's not just
the
like a
confession.
slice.
Yeah.
It's like the whole building.
And he hires
The insides
actors,
as well,
He
yeah.
hires extras like actors to play the bar patrons and
Yes,
the waitress and
very much in like a
the
Synecdoche, New
bartender.
York style.
Yeah,
And also,
it's like
it's
a-
full on. Like they actually wire the electrics in the building. Like
Yeah.
it's an actual fully functional
it's
building.
like it's like even the bar stools with the
The
rips.
rips, yeah,
it's
everything's
like
one to one.
everything's recreated. And like
And
I was,
they go through every single permutation that they can think of.
yeah,
But it
That
doesn't
will
just start
occur.
there. It starts in his apartment. It
Yeah.
starts like
yeah. He recreates Core's apartment so that Nathan himself can rehearse how
He's
the
gonna
first
introduce
meeting
himself,
with
yeah.
Core will
like
go.
I don't know how much is scripted of this show. I don't know how much is
Apparently, it's
It's-
80% unscripted.
yeah, but
Yeah,
like
so
it feels
every-
very manipulative.
Every
and all.
quote unquote reality
Yeah.
show,
has a bit of script.
every Borat style, crazy
Yeah.
kind of interview show has a heavy scripted element and a heavy edited element.
Yeah.
But just watching the way you interact, you can tell when a person is reacting in a real way. Same with Borat or whatever. It's that same reaction of like, yes, it's edited in a certain way, but also he actually did this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
It's chaos.
Allegedly, it's on the it would be pre-planned way in advance. They know what they're going to
Yeah.
do. But allegedly, it's on the more of the unscripted end,
Yeah.
where, like you said, they don't know how
It's
people are going to
still-
react.
yeah. And logistically,
They're going to catch it all on film anyway.
Yeah, logistically, it's so insane and such a huge undertaking. And obviously, anything could go wrong, even with the structured elements.
Yeah.
For listeners, like he builds Core's apartment in this warehouse, right, to help him rehearse how to manipulate Core into doing what he wants
Yeah.
him to do,
Yeah.
right, to say yes, how to come across well, and there's that whole kind of, well, guess the cloud of manipulation and
Yeah.
For even further
psychology that just covers
even-
over the whole show.
For even further context about just how in depth he goes to do these rehearsals, they do a 3D scan of his apartment pretending to be gas employees or
Yeah.
whatever. Whether that's scripted or not, I don't know. But either way, they scan the entire apartment. They write down the names of the books on his bookshelf.
Yeah.
And so Nathan can see which one he wants to pick up when he gets there to
Make a
make
joke.
do an icebreaker joke.
Yeah.
So he already knows the layout of the apartment before he gets there. He knows where the items are.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what to say.
And-
He's rehearsed it with a fake actor pretending to be the guy
Yeah.
like 100 times.
And then he uses that to convince Core that he can do that for
Him.
his confession to his
Yeah.
friend about his education in the bar, which then that's like a whole nother section. And so you got this two-pronged thing of like Nathan trying to
Yeah.
sort of figure out how he's going to do things, and then the person he's trying to help. And this is just the first episode.
Yeah, it's just getting started.
It
They,
just
they also end up technically manipulating the friend as well
yeah.
by like conning her into a meeting and like getting
Yeah,
information.
they get
out
an
of her.
actress to meet with the friend so that she can
Yeah.
pick
For a
up
fake-
on her,
for a fake blog
her,
that they set up.
her like speech patterns and whatever. It's just it's insane. The whole
I
thing.
want to know where the line is, right?
There is no
'Cause-
line.
because Nathan Fielder is so deadpan. It's hard to hard to know, and he doesn't
is-
do interviews.
But
He
this is
doesn't
the
talk
thing.
about
this
his
is,
process.
This is what we were talking about off air. Is like I'm watching the show and like he's doing this recreation thing, and I'm like, oh, it's like Charlie Kaufman's Synecdoche in New York. It's insane. This guy's recreated, this entire situation with actors and a set. It's like Charlie Kaufman-esque. It's
Yeah.
got this. It's got this anxiety and this cringe factor to it, but then there's also Nathan Fielder, who's always deadpan, always kind of
Serious, yeah.
serious, always kind of awkward.
Awkward.
And so he's always
Yeah.
in character. You never see him not in character. So where does Nathan, the real person, begin, and where does the character and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he's like Andy Kaufman-esque in a way. And so I'm like, so he's like Charlie Kaufman. He's like Andy Kaufman. He's like Kaufmanception. Like, it's just,
yeah.
it's, and I'm like,
Mind-boggling.
and this is only the first episode.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going insane watching the first episode. I watched it before you guys. And so, and then I'm like,
Boy, if only you knew what was coming.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously now we think here that after this episode and everything and it works itself out because of course it would.
But who knows?
Actually,
like,
that's also, it works itself out in this case.
yeah.
Because the other thing is, as we said, since he takes them through every single permutation, right? You initially think, well, he's trying to help the guy, but then there's specifically one interaction, one simulated interaction, where the friend gets really, really angry and leaves, and then one of the other pretend individuals in the bar says, "Did you hear that?" He does it on a master screen, and they're all laughing. Like, in what way is that supposed to help the man? Like,
It's like-
that is damaging.
See, but that's the thing is like, like Nathan Field is a comedic genius.
Yes, but
Like everything he does, even with the whole like fake reality show of like trying to help people, like he's doing it for comedy. The thing we're trying to figure out is like how much of it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is Core a straight man, or was Core,
In on the joke.
In on the joke.
No, he was definitely a straight man, which
Yeah.
is why it makes
can-
it so
if you-
cringe.
if you do-
it's
if
so
it is
cringe
dangerous,
and dangerous. Yeah.
That's what this is. This is dangerous comedy.
yeah.
Like you can go on the
It's basically a
internet.
psychological thriller.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
well,
can go.
we'll
We'll
get
get
to-
more. We'll get more into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
If you go on the internet and you like look up some of these people, that's on Instagram. It's like, yeah, it's completely what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like there's people, like people that were some of them participating. For instance, in second or third episode.
Second.
There's one of the people's brothers just like no,
Yeah, no,
now,
the
see-
second
now people
episode.
can
Second
see what
episode.
he's really like,
Yeah.
and it's like okay,
Yeah.
so there wasn't acting there.
But
Like,
so in the second episode,
well, let's hold on. We're getting ahead of ourselves. But this first episode is almost standalone in a way, right?
Yeah.
Then we assume there was a COVID break.
Well, they shot the first one before COVID, then COVID happened, and apparently they had to replan the next few episodes of the season. What it originally was, we don't know.
We assume it was just going to be sort
Week
of
to week,
like
he
week
helps
to week.
a
He
person
helps a different
rehearse
person.
for a difficult thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with large scale, recreations of whatever building they've got in this Willy Wonka Wonderland of a warehouse.
yeah. That Willy
but
Wonka bit was
but
great.
it changed, and I would like to know when he had to go into the HBO offices and said, "I know this was the original show, but follow me down the rabbit hole of chaos and disorder."
But that's the thing. It was probably always going to be chaos. It's just now it's a different kind of chaos.
So I guess they start from this break. They come back from this COVID break or whatever. They make the new episodes, and now it's about you've got your week to week cases sort of right, but there's an overarching sort of story.
So we should mention there's 6 episodes in the season,
We've
and
only seen
there's only 4 episodes released so far. So we've seen all 4 episodes.
Yeah, we thought we'd talk about the first 4 tonight because we're probably going to need more time to talk about the last
Just the
2.
last 2, yeah.
So we'll say the main, I guess, overarching issue or the problem is a woman named Angela. She's mid-40s, and
Yeah.
she wants to know if she wants a baby or not before it's too late.
Yeah.
And she's seemingly religious.
Yeah.
Has all these ideas about a family and what family is to her.
Yeah.
And she wants to go on the journey, see what it's like to raise a child.
Yeah.
And Nathan Fields is like, I can do this. We're going to hire a house in where is it, like
Oregon,
somewhere like that.
rural Oregon.
And we're going to raise a baby.
Yeah.
And then she obviously
it
wants
sounds so simple when you
sounds
put
so
it like
simple.
that.
And she's like, oh, I want a partner. So they get her on Tinder or whatever, a dating app that
Yeah.
she uses. And she goes through a couple people and she's like, doesn't like any of them. But she likes one man.
Yeah.
Goes on a couple dates and he's a complete psycho. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then Nathan Fields is like, well, I'm 38. Maybe I'll join in.
Yeah. But like you're missing the part where because there are strict child labor laws,
Oh, yeah, they have to change
they
the
have to
dates.
change the child out every few hours. And so there's a new kid, like, the kid playing the son.
They're like in the barn.
They have to and they want to make it seamless. So like they'll put the kid down for a nap, walk out of the room, and like the crew members will climb in the window, take the kid out, replace it with a new kid, and then the parent, Angela will come in and treat the new kid exactly the same as it's. And
then at night, because babies can't work at night, they have to like substitute it with a robot baby that cries occasionally and stuff, which they've got a guy operating. Sitting in the bar.
Actually, I said that to Callum. I'm like, watch this bit where the guy he starts talking about the
Bigfoot.
Sasquatch liaisons, that the government has Sasquatch liaisons.
But also, like, they can't have the time span of a kid turning 18.
Yeah.
So have it sped up to the point where
18 days.
It's an experiment to see
how she feels about each stage of
how it's like raising a kid from 0 to 18. So each week they get a new actor who's aged up a few years.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound that nuts when we talk about
it. And the experience of watching it, like the first episode was so cringy because like this guy's like trying to confess, and
then you see the actual confession,
really
right?
awkward.
In camera footage, and he pauses, like in the first episode.
Oh yeah, and you don't think he's ever
and
going
you
to do
don't think
it.
he's going to do
That's
it, and
the bit.
It's destroying.
When I first watched it, I was like on the edge of my seat, like holding my stomach, like cringing so hard. I'm like, he's just sitting there for ages, not saying anything. Yeah. And like then I watched it again with you guys, and it was still cringe. Yeah. Even though I knew what was going to happen, it's just like, oh my god, so awkward.
And while this is happening as well, we've got a couple of other little story threads going weirdly.
Yeah.
With a man trying to, I guess, talk to his brother about...
That's the third episode. So while the overarching Angela raising the kid story and Nathan becoming a part of that experiment to see what it's like to be a father as well, that's going on over the overarching season. But then each week, assumedly, there's also a smaller thing, like a rehearsal that he helps someone with.
There's a man trying to, I guess, talk to his brother about inheritance.
Yeah, from his grandfather who passed away.
And his grandfather doesn't want him inheriting, or there's some issue with him inheriting part of their wealth due to the fact that his partner may be a gold digger.
For some reason, the grandfather wrote in his will that if the grandson is dating a gold digger,
he can't get the money.
And his brother,
every woman he dates, his brother says
his brother
a gold
thinks,
digger.
So.
And then this goes completely off the rails.
Yeah.
So Nathan Fielder assumedly hires this guy to help him dig up some gold in the woods, which we didn't pick up on.
First he recreates their favorite fast food place, so that that the real guy can sit down with an actor who's playing his brother, and act out the trying to convince him to get his inheritance. So they're acting that out. But then Nathan realizes that the problem with the first rehearsal in the first episode was that he wasn't emotionally invested.
He wasn't emotionally processing
because he had rehearsed the confession in the first episode, but he had never actually felt
the emotional impact of it.
Yeah.
So
the only way to reproduce the emotional impact is to create an emotional impact yourself.
Yeah.
Which is what
he manipulates
the layers.
Yeah, he manipulates this guy into thinking that the actor who's playing his brother's grandfather needs help digging up some treasure.
Gold. Yeah,
literally a gold digger he becomes.
Yeah, which we
knew that went out over our heads the first time. And then the next day when they're in the rehearsal, they say, "Oh, that old man passed away." But he wants you, because you helped him, he wants you to have the gold that you digged up. And so now he's emotionally invested in real life.
Yeah, and then the next version of the rehearsal, it goes...
In the fake...
It goes really well.
And then he's starts crying and confessing. And I'm like, so, Nathan was technically successful.
Yeah, because the guy never came back.
But then the guy never comes back for the actual confession to his brother.
Obviously he got what he needed.
Yeah. Which I'm like, this is I'm sitting there holding my head, going what the hell is going on?
That wasn't planned. Yeah.
It's some sort of sinister psychological experiment.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, yes, there is a heavy manipulation. There's editing, there's writing, but
you can't
account for that guy's reaction. You can't account for the fact that he just left and never came back.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Nathan, the next episode, Nathan Fielder's got an acting studio, which allegedly was a real thing for like a couple of weeks in LA.
That I was not. So I watched the first 3 episodes before you guys. I'm like, you guys really have to watch this show. I think it's the greatest show I've ever seen in my whole life. And
this is we quickly lose the rails on the train.
Episode 4 comes out. We're like, okay, we'll watch all 4 episodes together. I've seen the first 3. I'll come over and we'll watch all 4 together. We watched the first 3, which I've already seen. I'm like, you guys get it, right? This is better than Finding Francis. This is the best thing Nathan Fielder's ever done. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's insane. Then episode 4 happens.
Yeah. Which is like, he cranks it up to 11.
I was not prepared.
No one is. No one was.
Like, people talk about shows getting meta.
Yeah.
This is the most meta thing I think anyone's ever done.
Okay, alright. Is everybody in the mind space to explain this so it's actually intelligible over the rest?
So, Nathan Fielder wants
you have to watch it.
And then go see a psychologist after that.
It's on, for Australian listeners, it's on Binge, which we, have problems with. But it's worth watching because it's
insane.
The best thing I've seen on television in a long time. And Severance came out this year.
Yeah. So just like, obviously we're not going to do this justice, but basically we're not going to spoil it too much, but Nathan Fielder opens
Mild spoilers, yeah.
He opens an acting school and he wants to train actors to help in his program, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say too much more about that.
It's like the ultimate rehearsal.
It's the ultimate rehearsal, and there's Inception, and there's layers.
It gets very psychological.
It gets very... It's like, actors playing real-life people, playing actors, and it just... Nathan joins in and starts...
then you get someone to replace him in the process.
Yes, and an actor starts playing Nathan.
I feel like he's losing... I feel like, in a way, he's losing control.
It becomes a show about the show, like making the show, and Nathan like questioning, like what's he doing with the show and how he's helping people, and like he's like goes undercover as an act, and it's just there's layers upon layers.
Are we gonna mention the end of the episode?
The cheese, yeah.
I don't.
Well, apparently, also, I don't know if we did. We I don't know if we talked about this when we watched it. The fact that this is kind of warfare on Angela, like she goes on about her issues with drugs and all this kind of stuff. Oh, that's like a
whole nother thing.
Yeah. I don't think Nathan Fielder particularly likes Angela.
Well, I can't blame him because she has some pretty radical
ideas. Yeah.
Anyway,
conservative.
She tells
conspiracy theories.
She's like a new kind of come to Jesus kind of person, right? She lived a hard she had a hard childhood. She
had
used
substance
abuse, all
issues.
this kind of stuff, alcohol issues, father issues. My dad wasn't present, and then like Nathan Fielder's like not present. Yeah, and I'm like, there's a lot of these things where it's like. It's like Angela's like,
and then he starts telling the actor playing his kid, like maybe you should have drug issues.
Hate me. You have drug issues. I'm like, is this just like what's going on here? Like, there's this whole thing about Angela, right? And her childhood's basically recreated through this.
And there is that underlying sinisterness. But like I said, like the 3rd episode where that guy, there's just like something cathartic about.
Yeah. At the end of the show, I feel like he's going to sit her down and be like, don't recreate the problems you had growing up. And she's going to start crying. He's going to leave. And I'm be like, oh my God.
Probably.
Also, can we point out, though, Emmy-nominated moment when he starts crying?
Yeah, so
his dying son.
He's essentially orchestrated the kid to have a drug overdose in front of Angela, who's had these drug issues and a traumatic upbringing.
Which he assumedly hasn't discussed with her. I don't know. So it's like really...
So we're seeing it as it happens and her reaction. And he's like screaming. He's like, what's happening to my boy?
I was holding my head going like, what the hell is going on?
Because it's all fake. It's all fake. Don't forget that. It's like you're watching some drama, which we all know is completely fake.
But also fake ambulance.
With the actors. But it's also like there is the real element, the real person element, which again, it's not a prank show.
No.
But it's like...
It's contrived,
Yeah, they're like...
There's emotional manipulation going on.
And meanwhile, while this is all going on and he's, manipulating these real people and helping them, quote unquote, and doing terrible things, like there's also his journey of like him going like, well, I'm getting older and, I don't know.
And he looks in the mirror when he comes back and he's older.
It's like a digitally de-aged mirror. Like it's... And that's what I was saying with Finding Francis, of like where he wants to find love at the end. It's like the whole overarching thing with the rehearsal is him
Trying to find connections.
trying to come, and we don't know what's going to happen in the last 2 episodes, but we can only imagine it's going to be some sort of insane meta commentary on his real life. Like, he was divorced recently in real life, and I don't like, and where does the character begin and he ends? So it's like, how far is he going to go?
We don't know.
Because this is only the first 4 episodes, and I'm
Who knows?
speechless.
well,
Absolutely speechless.
the next episode's entitled Apocalypto, so who knows what's going to happen? What does that mean?
Yeah. I don't know what to say.
And
We haven't done justice
No,
in
so
talking about
the thing is, like I said, so we describe it as best we can, but then you go on Twitter and you see people say stuff like Nathan Fielder needs to be put in jail. So so it's one thing for us to explain it, but it's another thing to witness the psychological manipulation at work itself.
Also, again, I think we as a people should be thankful that he's just on TV and not
murders. Yeah.
that we know of.
Yeah.
not trying to change government policy or.
We were talking about this, after watching it, is like the thing with Nathan Fielder is he's self-aware.
Yeah.
He's playing a character,
But you never
and
see
he's
the
so
self-awareness.
he's so deep in character that you think this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's a weirdo, but the quality of the comedy
Yeah, it's so
and the
high.
logistical
Forethought.
feat
Yeah.
that this is. Like, kudos to his producers
Oh,
because
100%.
they're
Imagine
god
pitching
tier.
this to HBO.
Yeah,
Just be like, sit down, the
just the
executives.
flow charts.
Yeah. Be like,
Yeah.
it's going to get weird. Just
Yeah.
trust me.
Because a normal show has a lot, like a big crew production, especially a HBO production. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of crew.
Because it's not like...
But a show like this is like, they plant seeds one day, and then the crew at night has to dig them up and put produce in the thing so that the time, like, it feels to Angela, it feels like her garden is growing quicker than it would in real
Naturally,
time.
yeah.
It's it's not like he stayed with Comedy Central the whole time and they're just like, look, we'll trust you to give us a good product. Because he's shifted networks a few times. He's gone from Comedy Central, then he worked with Showtime.
Yeah.
Now he's at HBO.
But he's made a name for himself where even though he
Yeah,
might
but-
not be particularly popular in Australia or even huge in America, like someone like Sacha Baron Cohen.
People know him, yeah.
He's an
He's,
auteur,
it's like
basic
Yeah.
cable comedy writer.
exactly like people know who he is and they like his stuff.
Well, Finding Frances was nominated for an Emmy, if I'm correct.
Was
he
it?
lost. I think he didn't win, but I
Yeah.
thought he was nominated.
I think he was
I
nominated.
think he was because we
I
were
just-
keeping up
yeah.
with that. I
Because he was
remember.
he is known in like studio circles because he has the accolades behind his belt, if you will. But,
It's just
But,
weird.
but
like,
even if he didn't, like, he's such a genius.
he's
Yeah.
a mad genius. Imagine going to the HBO executives being like, I want to do Synecdoche in New York, but I want to torture real people
But
as well.
that's the thing is it's like we want to be a fly on the wall because it's like, does he ever drop character even with executive in the pitch meeting? And at 2, they might have come to him and said like, hey, we like your stuff, do you have any ideas?
Yeah.
Well,
And
it's like-
what he told them, who knows?
it's like Alm says, he just wants to talk with the guy.
Yeah, like I need to sit him there and be like, what are you? Like, be serious.
Oh yeah, Alan wants to know what his real deal is.
Because I've seen not to this extent, but I've seen people wear a mask, right? Wear a mask so long that they can't take
Metaphorically.
it off. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take it off,
They
yeah.
can't take it off,
Yeah.
right? And I'm just saying, like,
But that's the thing.
has anyone seen him serious? Has his
You know,
wife?
this? It's like he's a Philip K. Dick character.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like,
Kaufman-esque. It's just like
I didn't speak to
both
his wife, his
Kaufmans.
ex-wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because he was always in character, the relationship.
That's why I was like, is that why they got divorced? Because he couldn't break character? Like, what is going on? Like, this guy's insane, and he's a
So that's why him and Sacha Baron Cohen get along, because they both get very deep.
yeah. But we were talking about this the other night, where like Sacha Baron Cohen, you know where his characters end. He's very
Yeah.
much when
No,
he dresses up, he plays the character. Then he's his normal self
Yeah.
for everything else.
But it's probably a complete frame shift for Nathan Fielder to get out of character.
Yeah.
It's like a Scanner Darkly. It's like you have to get out of
he's
the whole
so
suit.
deep undercover that
Yeah.
he doesn't know who he is anymore.
Ugh.
And that's probably what the part of the rehearsal is about.
Yeah, yeah.
which we don't. We have no idea
Well, I mean,
how it's going
there's
to
two
end.
episodes.
It's the end of him checking himself into a psychiatric hospital.
Anything could happen.
Oh man!
But it'll be a recreation of a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah,
Like
with actors. Yeah,
God. But it's a highly recommended watch. But keep your wits about you because you're gonna lose them. You're going to
Yeah,
lose
you
them.
got to
Yeah.
pay attention
And-
because
and
you'll miss things.
if you're because we've talked about this once before a long time ago, where like Alan has like a sensitivity to like cringe comedy,
Mhm.
like the UK Office.
Yeah.
And he has to be like prepared, and I'm like, nothing will prepare you for
Yeah.
this. But you got through it.
I
There was a point in the first or second episode where I looked over and Alan was just like mouth, like jaw dropped, and just like holding his head, and like I
Yeah.
thought he was gonna die.
I'm like just
Well,
into my veins. Come on,
well,
there's more. I
yeah,
need more.
There's 2 episodes left. We'll definitely talk about the last 2 after we've seen them.
Yes.
But that's about all the time we've got for tonight. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you
always
for
a pleasure.
listening.
Keep an eye out for the Saturday episodes, the bonus episodes.
Yeah.
That we've already recorded one. We should release that probably before this one. Like
Yes.
and then we might record a Saturday episode this Saturday. So yeah, but we'll see. We're not.
Just keep an eye on the socials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They drop when they drop. Thanks for listening, everybody. Yes, you can listen to the podcast on
Not Shout Engine.
Spotify.
No, Spotify. Yeah.
Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen.
Yep.
Please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page, Instagram, and the Tweetor. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next week.